It was a rainy Tuesday when she walked into my office. Not the dramatic thunderstorm kind of rain, the quiet, persistent drizzle that makes the city feel smaller, older, and more suspicious than usual. The kind of day when people keep secrets under wet coats and coffee shop windows fogged with silence. That was the kind of rain I liked. It meant something was about to happen. I was alone, as always. My office was nothing special. Peeling paint, two chairs with uneven legs, and a desk I bought secondhand from a guy who probably stole it. A cheap fan buzzed in the corner, even though it was already November. I kept it running. The noise helped me think. Then she came in. She didn't knock, just opened the door like she owned the place. She wasn't tall, average height, maybe 5'5", but she moved like someone who had learned not to flinch when the world tried to hit her. She wore a dark gray coat, soaked at the hem, and carried a messenger bag like it weighed nothing. But her eyes, that's what stopped me. Green, piercing, like broken glass in a streetlight. She looked like she hadn't slept in days, but she wasn't scared. She was calculating. "You're Sam Rourke?" she asked, voice low even. "That's what the door says," I replied, gesturing to the seat across from me. "And the rent bill." "Who's asking?" She sat, didn't smile, didn't offer a name. "I need you to find someone," she said. "Missing persons is extra," I told her, reaching for my notebook. "Depends on who and how long they've been missing." "It's me," she said. I stopped. "Come again?" "I need you to find me," she repeated, slower this time, "or at least who I used to be." That got my attention. She reached into her bag and placed a small bundle on my desk, a cheap flip phone, a crumpled photo, and a medical bracelet. No wallet, no ID, no name. "I woke up 2 weeks ago in a motel near East Side. No memory of how I got there. Nothing before that day. I don't know my name. I don't know what I was running from. But I know someone's still looking for me. I can feel it." Her voice didn't crack. She spoke like someone giving a weather report. Cold, precise, like she had practiced it in her head 100 times. I leaned back, studying her. Her coat was high-end, tailored, definitely not off the rack. Shoes, scuffed but expensive, the kind that lawyers or execs wear. Her hands were small, neat, no visible scars or tattoos, but her nails were bitten to the quick. That told me more than anything. "You remember anything? A name, a place, a face?" She shook her head. "Just fragments. A name, Langston, and a sound, glass breaking, screams, then silence." I looked at the photo. It showed her standing next to a man in a suit, smiling in a stiff, formal way. Her hair was different, darker. They were in front of a black SUV, and in the background, a tall white building with mirrored windows, the kind that screams corporate money and high-level deals. "Where'd you get the phone?" "It was on the motel nightstand when I woke up." "You look at it?" I was scared to. That's when I knew she wasn't lying. A scared person hides the truth, but someone who's really afraid, they hide it from themselves. I flipped the phone open. No contacts, no call log, but there was one saved message in drafts. Just one word, "run." I closed it. "All right," I said finally. "I'll take your case." She exhaled like she hadn't been breathing until now. "Name?" I asked. "I don't have one." I nodded. "Then I'll call you Sierra." She raised an eyebrow. "Why Sierra?" I shrugged. "Sounds like someone who survives things." She didn't smile, but something in her face relaxed for a second. Just a second. I started with the photo. I scanned it, enhanced the background, ran a reverse image search. 10 minutes later, I had a hit. The building was Langston Global Holdings, one of those financial firms that moves billions without anyone knowing what they actually do. Offshore accounts, shell companies, real estate laundering. I'd crossed their name once in a corruption case. Ugly stuff. The man in the photo took a bit longer. Eventually, I found a press release from 2 years ago. Board meeting, shareholder event, Langston and a man named Callister Drake, CEO. No smile, same suit, same ghost. I showed Sierra the screen. Her face tightened. I've seen him, she whispered. Not in a memory, in real life. He was following me at the train station last week. That meant 2 things. First, she wasn't just paranoid. Second, this went deeper than a simple case of amnesia. We needed help. I called in a favor from a guy at Records who owed me a few too many beers. He pulled up everything he could find on Sierra Holt. The name matched the photo after cross-checking facial recognition. And there she was. Sierra Holt, age 28, former corporate counsel for Langston Global, disappeared 6 months ago. Official report said extended leave. No activity since. No credit cards, no phone trace. Vanished. I used to work for them? She asked. Not just work for them, I said. You were their lawyer. She stared at the floor, then shook her head. I don't remember any of it. Someone made sure you wouldn't. Suddenly, the office light flickered. Then the window shattered. I tackled her to the ground as 2 bullets ripped through the chair where she'd been sitting. Silence. Then sirens in the distance. We were out of time. I grabbed her hand. We're leaving. Now. Out the fire escape, down the alley. We disappeared into the city like rats in smoke. Whoever had tried to kill her didn't want her memory back. That meant she remembered something worth dying for. And I was starting to think this case wasn't about a missing person. It was about a hidden one. A woman erased from her own life by the people she trusted, by a company built on secrets, and by a man who smiled in press photos while ordering her silence. This wasn't just a case anymore. This was a war. And we just fired the first shot. Shadows beneath the lights. The city of Los Angeles shimmered in the early evening heat, but the glow did little to melt the tension weighing on Sam Rourke's shoulders. He stepped out of the taxi and into the narrow alley behind the jazz club Sierra had mentioned. Club Indigo. Neon blues flickered above the back door like a heartbeat gone erratic. From inside, the muted pulse of a bass line slipped through the bricks. Sam checked his watch. 7:42 p.m. He was early. He liked being early, liked watching before being seen. He lit a cigarette, half distracted, as the words from Sierra's lips echoed in his head again and again. He used to play the drums, fast, angry, but I don't remember his face. She had looked at him with that same confusion, like the world was a puzzle, and she was a piece that didn't fit anywhere anymore. Now, here he was, looking for the missing drummer, a man who might have died, disappeared, or never existed at all. Sam moved through the back entrance. No one stopped him. His worn leather jacket and calm gait made him invisible. Inside, smoke curled through the air. The club throbbed with slow jazz and whispered conversation. Waitresses weaved through the tables like dancers in a fog. On stage, a saxophonist with gray curls closed his eyes and bled his soul into the notes. Sam found a spot near the back, leaned against a pillar, and watched. At the bar sat a red-haired man in a rumpled suit. Something about him didn't sit right. Too stiff to be drunk, too alert to be enjoying the music. He glanced around every few seconds, eyes scanning the room like a cat waiting for a rat to move. Sam noticed these things. It was his job. He waited another hour until the band took a break. Then he stepped outside for air, and that's when he saw her again. Sierra Holt. She was across the street under a broken street lamp, arms crossed, eyes wide. She looked lost in the way children look when they've woken up from a nightmare and can't remember where they are. He crossed the road quickly. "What are you doing here?" he asked. She blinked. "I didn't know where else to go. I thought maybe I'd remember something if I came." Sam sighed, checked the street behind them. Nothing, just empty sidewalk and the hum of a distant car. "Let's take a walk," he said. "You might remember more if we talk it through." They walked for blocks, past shuttered storefronts, flickering signs, and lonely figures curled on park benches. She spoke in fragments, as if memories came in puzzle pieces she couldn't connect. There was a man. He wore a black coat. He had a tattoo here. She pointed to the inside of her wrist. A spider. Sam stopped walking. He'd heard that before. A tattoo like that wasn't fashion. It was a signature, one belonging to a small, quiet gang operating in the city's underbelly. Smuggling, extortion. They were ghosts, mostly, but the name Silk Web had crossed his desk once or twice. He didn't like where this was going. They returned to his office. Sam poured 2 glasses of water, no coffee tonight, and handed one to her. She looked at it like she didn't trust it. "What if I'm not who I think I am?" she asked. Sam gave her a tired smile. "Most people aren't." He turned to his desk. He needed to make a few calls, ask some old favors. But before he could dial, the phone rang. He picked up, a voice low and sharp like broken glass. "Stay away from her, Rourke. This is your only warning." Click. The line went dead. He stared at the receiver, a slow heat crawling up his neck. "Who was it?" Sierra asked. "No one," he said too quickly. He forced a grin. "Just a wrong number." But it wasn't. It never was. Sam knew now. This wasn't about a missing memory. This was about danger. Real, living, breathing danger. Someone wanted Sierra gone. Or quiet, or dead. And maybe they'd be coming for both of them. He reached into his bottom drawer, pulled out a .38 revolver, checked it, and slipped it into his shoulder holster. "Come on," he said. "We're going somewhere safe." She didn't ask where. She just followed. They drove to a rundown motel outside the city, one of those places with flickering lights and bulletproof glass at the check-in window. Sam paid cash, no ID. The man behind the counter didn't even look up. In the room, Sierra sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders hunched, eyes vacant. Sam stood by the window, watching the empty parking lot. "You're not safe anymore," he said. "Not until we find out who they are and what they want." She whispered, "I didn't want to be found." He turned to her. "Why?" "I was hiding from all of it. From him." "Who?" "I don't know. But I think he hurt me. I think I saw something I wasn't supposed to see." Sam sat down across from her. "Tell me everything, even if it sounds crazy." She took a shaky breath. "There was a warehouse," she said. "I remember crates and voices. One of them said something about diamonds. Then there was shouting and a gunshot." Sam leaned forward. "Where was this?" She shook her head. "I don't know. I ran. I hit my head. Everything after that is blank." Diamonds, a warehouse, a gunshot. It was starting to make sense. People didn't threaten you over forgotten memories. But they did kill over money, especially diamonds. He took out his notepad, scribbled a few names. He'd need to talk to people. Dangerous people. But it was the only way forward. As Sierra drifted into uneasy sleep, Sam stood at the window, listening to the silence. Somewhere in this city, someone knew who she really was, knew what she'd seen, knew what she'd taken, and they were going to come for it. The night stretched long and thin. The shadows outside grew restless. Tomorrow, the chase would begin. The final truth. The room was dim, filled with the quiet hum of the ceiling fan above, slicing through the heat like slow-moving blades of a memory. Sam Rourke stood by the window, his eyes watching the streets below where shadows slithered along the sidewalk like snakes in a city that never really slept. Behind him, Sierra Holt sat hunched on the edge of the bed, her hair tangled, her eyes wide with the kind of fear that comes when memory begins to return, not in whole, but in jagged pieces, sharp enough to bleed the soul. He lit a cigarette, his first in weeks, and the smoke curled into the air like ghosts escaping his lungs. "They found Benny?" he said quietly, not turning around. "Face down in the back alley behind the Velvet Echo. Shot. Twice." Sierra didn't answer. Her fingers trembled against the fabric of the blanket, clutching it like it could keep her grounded in a reality she didn't trust. "You remember anything now?" he asked, voice low, but edged with a growing urgency. She shook her head at first, but then her lips parted. "I remember. Noise. A hotel room. A man screaming. Something about a bag." Sam turned slowly, narrowing his eyes. "A bag?" She nodded slowly, pressing her palm against her temple. It's black, like leather. I was holding it. I was running." Sam sat down on the chair across from her. His gut had been telling him something for the past 12 hours, and now the image was becoming clearer. "Sierra," he said carefully, "I need you to be honest with me. If we're going to make it out of this alive, I need everything." She looked up, her eyes filled with unshed tears. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't know who he really was." "Benny?" She nodded. "He told me he was done with them, that he wanted out, that he was going to take something and vanish. He needed someone he could trust. I was stupid. I believed him." Sam leaned forward, elbows on his knees, heart thumping. "What did he take?" "The diamonds," she whispered. Everything froze for a moment. Even the fan above seemed to pause. Sam leaned back, closing his eyes. "Jesus." Sierra wrapped her arms around herself. "He said it was the last job, that they were stolen goods, that he'd hide them and we'd disappear together. But when I got to the meeting point, he wasn't there. Just blood." "You've been running ever since?" She nodded, eyes distant. "I thought they were after me. I didn't even know if Benny was alive. Then I saw your ad. I figured, if I found the right detective, maybe I'd get some answers before they got to me." Sam stood. "You found more than a detective, sweetheart. You found the middle of a damn storm." He didn't say it out loud, but he knew who they were, and he knew they were close. By the time night fell again, Sam had a plan. He wasn't one for theatrics, but this one called for some smoke and mirrors. He arranged a meeting with Joe the Red Danton, the man Sierra had described in fragments. Ginger hair, pale blue eyes, a scar on his left cheek. They met at the Iron Lotus, a jazz club with too many mirrors and too many secrets. Joe arrived late, as expected, flanked by two silent men in gray suits. His smirk oozed confidence, but Sam saw through it. "Rourke," Joe said, sliding into the booth across from him. "You've been stirring the pot." Sam smiled, his fingers tapping the table. "I tend to do that when someone tries to kill me. Twice." Joe laughed, but there was no warmth in it. "You've got something of mine," he said, leaning in. "Something shiny, something that Benny should have never touched." Sam didn't blink. "And if I did?" Joe's smile faded. "Then you bring it to me. Tonight. No cops. No lies." "And Sierra?" Joe's eyes narrowed. "She's just collateral. She knew what she was getting into." Sam stood up, dropping a folded napkin onto the table. "Midnight. Pier 9. Come alone." As he walked away, He knew the pier would be anything but empty. Midnight came cloaked in fog. The harbor was silent, save for the soft clinking of chains and the slow churn of black water. Sam stood beneath a rusted lamplight, coat collar turned up, eyes sharp. Sierra stood behind him, hidden in the shadows, clutching the small black leather bag. Joe arrived, alone, or so it seemed. "Got it?" he asked, his voice slicing the silence. Sam gestured, and Sierra stepped forward, the bag in her hands. Joe's eyes glittered with greed. "Open it." She hesitated. Sam gave her a nod. Inside, nestled in velvet, were a dozen uncut diamonds, each catching the dull light like a blade. Joe reached out, and that's when everything snapped. From the shadows, movement, 3 men with guns, another from behind the crates. Joe's men. Sam pulled Sierra down as the first shot rang out. The world exploded into chaos. He fired back, rolling behind a shipping container, dragging Sierra with him. Bullets tore through the night, ricocheting off metal and concrete. Joe shouted, "Get the bag!" But Sam was already running, dragging Sierra toward a side alley that led back to the main road. One of the men lunged forward, grabbing Sierra's coat. She screamed, struggling. Sam turned and fired. The man dropped. They burst through the alley exit and into the street just as flashing blue lights lit up the scene. LAPD. Sergeant Monroe stepped out from behind a cruiser. "Rourke, down!" Sam dropped the gun, raising his hands. "Took you long enough." Within minutes, the whole pier was swarming. Joe and his men were pinned. The diamonds were bagged and tagged. Sierra stood shaking, wrapped in a police blanket, her face pale, but her eyes steady. The next morning, Sam sat in his office, bruised but breathing. The city looked cleaner somehow, less crooked. Sierra stepped in, dressed in borrowed clothes, hair tied back. She looked different, stronger. "They said I'm not being charged," she said softly. "You helped them take down a major syndicate. That counts for something." She placed the black bag on his desk. "You should keep this," she said. "A reminder of the storm you walked into for a stranger." He looked at it for a long moment, then shook his head. "You take it. You earned it more than I did." She smiled, bittersweet. "So what now?" Sam stood, walking her to the door. "Now you start over, somewhere quieter, somewhere without ghosts." She paused at the threshold. "You'll be all right?" He smiled. "I always am." As she walked down the hallway and out of his life, Sam turned back to the window. The city was still there, loud, broken, alive. He lit another cigarette, the smoke curling upward, another case closed, another lie buried. And the truth? The truth was always just a little out of reach. But that's the life of a man like Sam Rourke, chasing shadows in a city full of them. The sun was rising over the city, golden light cutting through the haze that lingered after a long night of unanswered questions. Sam Rourke sat on the hood of his car outside the federal building, the stale taste of bitter coffee in his mouth, the weight of the last 48 hours finally pressing against his chest like a storm that had just passed but left everything soaked. Sierra stood beside him in silence, her arms folded, eyes cast toward the distant skyline. The woman who had once been a mystery was now unraveling before him, not just her past, but who she had become through it all. "Was it worth it?" she asked softly, almost to herself. Sam didn't answer right away. He took a slow breath, then turned to look at her. "Truth always costs something," he said. "Sometimes it costs everything." They had exposed a network deeper than either of them had imagined. Vincent Carr was in custody, his political connections now a liability. More names were coming out. A judge, 2 corporate CEOs, even someone from the state Senate. The world Sierra had escaped from had been torn open, and for the first time she wasn't running. "I don't remember everything," she whispered, "but I know what I am now." Sam nodded. "You're not just someone they wanted to silence. You're someone they'll never forget." A black SUV pulled up across the street. A woman in a dark suit stepped out, Agent Monroe. She gave them both a nod. It was time. Sierra turned to Sam, her voice quiet. "Will I ever be free?" "You already are," he said. She reached out and touched his hand, briefly, just a moment of thanks, connection, and something unspoken. Then she walked toward the SUV, toward the new identity, the protection, the second life that waited for her. Sam watched until the car disappeared into traffic. The city didn't slow down. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Somewhere, someone else was lying, hiding, running. There would always be another case, another secret, another person who needed the truth. But today, Sam Rourke had done something right. Not perfect, not clean, but right. He got in his car, started the engine, and pulled out onto the street. The neon signs blinked out in the daylight. The city looked tired, like it had seen too much. So had he. But for now, the story was over, and the silence that followed felt like peace. Some truths are never filed in reports. Some people, like Sam Rourke, walk into the shadows, so others don't have to. Close quote. If this story moved you, subscribe to this channel. Here, we share the untold. Mysteries, people, moments you won't forget. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next case.